practicing when I was young. And it's a concept, and it's not about it being true or false. It's a practice, and then that practice develops something in you. So it gets, what you do gets you results. It's not about it meaning something necessarily. Okay, follow. So, no hierarchy of tasks is a practice where you approach each task, each thing that you're doing, as if there's no inherent difference in whether you're scrubbing a toilet or reading a book or drinking coconut water under a palm tree. Okay, now this is an extreme thing to say, but it's not saying, it's an extreme thing to practice, but it's not saying that those things are equal. It's not saying that those things are the same. It's not saying that it doesn't, that means there's no difference in them. It's not saying any of that. It's a practice of approaching tasks as if there's no inherent hierarchy, right? So we might approach, mopping the floor much different than we approach eating cake. And rightly so, okay? But this is the practice. So it's when I generally find I don't have to really practice this when I'm eating cake, I guess. I practice this when I'm mopping the floor. So it scales down the experience to the micro moment. And in the micro moment, you kind of see, I'm just doing whatever I'm doing whenever I'm doing it. It's without the overlay of what I think about it. It's it's just a microsecond. Now, again, this isn't saying whether things are. I really don't think all things are equal, and it doesn't matter if we're doing this or it doesn't matter if we're doing that. That's not what the practice is. The practice isn't assigning any meaning to the task actually at all. It's a practice of coming to whatever it is that we're doing as if there is no inherent hierarchy of tasks. That's what I've called it. I've come to kind of relate to the word hierarchy in a different way, but that's what I started out calling it when I was, I don't know, I think I've been practicing this since I was a teenager. So basically what it does is it allows us to use our constraints for us, or not even necessarily for us, but it allows our constraints to not work against us more than they have to. And in the practice of it essentially becomes it's like a practice of mindfulness. It's a practice of presence, and so we're not. It's a practice of not resisting the moment that we're in. And so that is outside of saying whether the moment we're in is something we like. That's outside of saying, outside of whether it's fair, or we like it, or it's easy, or no, right? It could be hard, it could be unfair, and we might not like it. And it's a practice of just relating to the moment as if there is no hierarchy. It's essentially observational, just an observational presence, removing the overlay of what we think about something. This doesn't mean that the overlay of what we think about something is insignificant. As a matter of fact, if we find ourselves repeatedly in a situation where something is unfair, hard, and we don't like it, that should be, that can act as something that guides our direction and motivates and propels us to shift our circumstance where we can, or where we can. This isn't just like pretend everything is fine and then everything will be fine. No, it's wherever you're not going to change the fucking situation anyway, right? Wherever you're just going to have to be doing the thing that you're doing. Maybe you don't have to, maybe you could choose to fight against it and not do it, or rebel against it and not do it. But realistically, what you're doing is you're going to be doing it, right? The option might be there that you could not do it, but you're in a situation that you're just going to be doing it, right? So that becomes the constraint. It's not like it has to be imposed or it has to be a constraint. It's that you just identify as it a constraint if you're not going to do anything differently outside of if it's your fault or not your fault or imposed or not imposed. It's just like you're going to be doing it, so what are you going to, how are you going to approach it? How are you going to deal with it? Right? And the opinions about it are input that matter and help you guide your, where you focus your energy and attention and movement, right? So, you know, I've been in jobs where I fucking found that I repeatedly felt stuck and hated it. Okay, I can approach each moment where I'm resisting the moment and hating my life and hating everybody and hating you know, and just focusing how unfair it is, how much I hate it, how hard it is. Okay, it's like that's all relevant. That is real to the experience. That's fucking real to the experience, and in whatever way that you can, that can influence your trajectory, where you have available choices. So there, that again, that can influence the movement of your life, but it's not relevant in the micro moment where you accept, not condone, but accept the constraint, because then you're not fighting against the moment that you're going to be in anyway. And then you do a practice. It's just a practice. It's not saying everything is all the same and who cares. It's not saying that. It's just a practice. It's development of a muscle. It's development of relating to life and our experience of life. It's really about taking control of the experience of our life. Not saying we have all the choices imaginable, right? But it's identifying where we have choice available. It's identifying what it is that we care about. And then it's not letting things have power over us that don't have to fucking have power over us. Which means we're not going to fight against the fucking moment that we're in. We're not going to resist the moment that we're in with the fucking narrative overlay. That narrative overlay can become input that guides and directs our motivation, right? That influences our trajectory, where we have agency available. But in the actual fucking moment, we can practice this hierarchy, no hierarchy of tasks. So we practice being more present without the resistance. And so what happens when we do this is that all the fucking shitty things in the world in our day-to-day that we have to deal with, and I'm talking about, let's use for example the small shitty things, okay? A really long line, the traffic, the really messy kitchen that's got to be cleaned, the combination of tons of things happening at once that we don't like, and then what? Those all become our training ground. And it's not like, oh, it's our opportunity, but it literally is the opportunity. It's the material that we can use to develop something in ourselves. And this, again, this doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that life is fair and that we like everything and that it doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, it positions us to get stronger and use whatever is to develop ourselves so that we can actually have footing on real ground, and so that we're not letting the world siphon our energy, so that we can retain that energy, be present in the moment, take steps from real ground, and not be letting things have power over us that don't need to have power over us. And not like, fuck you, I'm not mopping floors ever. It's like, no, I gotta mop the floor. This is my job right now. This is my job right now. I might not like it right now, but this is my job right now. And how can I not fight the moment, just the moment, the microsecond? How can I not fight that so that I can be here? And how then that becomes raw material that we're using as fuel to build something in ourselves. Because relating to the world in the present moment is a practice. And it's been introduced to us largely, I feel, as a I don't know if the language I'm going to use around this is exactly what I want to say, but like kind of like a moral thing, like you're good if you can be present or something. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just not like, what? It's a challenge, it's a muscle, and it demands repetition to improve. And by improve, I mean you have to try less to get the result, right? So it just becomes more ingrained in you. And so it's not always so hard to practice being present. It's not always so hard to relate to our constraints as our assignment and not let them have power of us where they don't fucking have to, and scale things down to the microsecond to be present, you know? Like that, in the start of the practice, it's like, it's intellectual, and then it combines with the practice. And then the practice feeds the, you know, it's like the unconscious and the conscious feeding each other, but through behavior. So that's why the practice matters, because through the repetition of the behavior, we give it proof. We feed the beast, and we're feeding the beast with something that gives proof. And the proof is that we can relate to things in a way that serve us instead of drain us. And then what does that get us, you know? Because in my experience, what that gets me is, you know, the external world is a bunch of shit I don't fucking control. And so when I don't relate to it in this up, down, zigzag, roller coaster way, where I'm good if things out there are good, I'm bad if things out there are bad. No, where I have a more constant and neutral, more observational relation to things I don't control, then what that does is get me power. And what can I do with power is use my agency to get out of the situation that I don't want to be in. To be able to say, what is the pattern? Oh, the pattern is I'm constantly in a situation that I don't like, that's really fucking hard, that's unfair. You know? And in the day-to-day, I don't have to fucking let that mean something about me inherently. I don't have to let that mean something about the world, the system, the person. I can take that off and say, what that means is that I'm identifying that I would like a shift in my situation, in my circumstance. So, you know, I realize that I'm getting angry because what it brings up for me is that I feel powerless in this situation. So where can I identify some areas where I actually do have agency, right? You know, because I can wait all day long for, you know, people to read my manifestos about how unfair things are. I can wait my whole life, actually, and nobody else will fucking give a fuck. So that's a recipe for fucking hitting my head up against the wall and fucking giving up my life and my energy for a fight that doesn't get me what I want. And so when I see that what I want is to actually identify where it is that I can shift my trajectory. Where can I? You know, and the brutal part is that a lot of this is identifying, like, oh wow, I really don't have power. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of shit I don't control and a lot of shit that I deem to be unfair. And a lot of that, if I'm honest, has a lot to do with the way that I fucking approach life, right? Because what is my behavior? You know, what are the because in the past it's like, if I hate a job, then I have to spend 5-6 hours after work fucking binge drinking and bitching and fucking what and fucking what and what and doing what, building what, you know? And so it's like, if we start to identify where it is that we do have agency and where it is that we do have power, which is a place that we can much more easily get to when we're not like letting our energy drain out by fighting against the moment, right? And so that power it maintains inside of us, and it can be used for momentum. And when we're honest with ourselves and we can identify trajectory, and that trajectory is about where we can do something. Yeah, great, they should do this, they should do that. Do they? No. Okay, what can you do? You know, it's like, it's just a fucking simple math equation, and it fucking hurts. And nobody wants to fucking do it, but it's effective. It's effective. And what do we want in life? What are we doing here? You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Because the choices that we make actually do influence other people's experience, you know? What about the children? What example are we setting for them? Are we showing them one of hope? Or are we just gonna identify the villains and the heroes and fucking pit them against each other? Do you know what I mean? Like, where's the hope that we're generating? Because if we're just fucking hopeless, you know, it's like, be hopeless but play the fiddle. Like, that's hope. That's creation. That's transcendence. That's transformation. Like, but if we're too busy fucking hating things, resisting the moment, and what? Repeating patterns that we've repeated and we just don't know how to fucking stop because it's too hard, and we think that means something about us inherently, and when we actually are honest with where it is that we've been doing and what it is that we've been doing, we're fucking so ashamed of ourselves and think it means something about us inherently, and we don't know how to fucking change because we fucking hate ourselves, because we fucking hate the choices that we've made. And we'd much rather just point out there and say, fuck them, fuck this, that's not fair. It should be like this, it should be like that. Okay, great, wow, you figured out how everything should be. But is it effective? Is it effective? So what, you know, I mean, it's just a straight up fucking truth, bro. It's just a straight up fucking truth. You know, I didn't invent the fucking truth. and it's just like, that's all I really have to fucking say. But it's no hierarchy of tasks. Isn't that there isn't no hierarchy of tasks. It's a practice of relating to the moment in that way. And that practice yields results. And those results allow you to retain power that was previously spent hitting your head up against the wall over and over and over and over and over again, resisting a moment, and ultimately giving up your agency in a way that will help you change that moment that repeatedly comes up. Because it matters to you, and because you can do something about it, and because it has real effect in your life and your experience and to those around you. And the other thing is that when we resist the moment that we're going to be in anyway, we go into fight or flight. We release cortisol in our body. And if that's happening in an abundance, when the actual circumstance isn't, you know, a tiger eating our young, you know, where it's just like all day, every day, things are pissing us off, and we're letting that matter to us in our body, in our response, in our use of energy, then what happens? You know? And that's something we can control. That's something we can control. And it's nervous system regulation, and there's no way else to do it. Nobody else can do it for us. Nobody else can do it for us. And it's got to be done through practice. It's got to be done through repetition. And it takes an observational way of relating to the world in order to not, you know, in order to buy that space between the reaction so that we can respond instead. And if we're just so fucking quick to react, then it's boom, boom, everything's released and we're fucking panicked. And then it's just, you know, or the observational way of relating, which it buys us that second. And that second is all that we need to take the breath, to make more space in our body, you know, to use the resource of like infinite space out of the top of our head, so that it becomes like, you know, instead of getting angry and you have a top on the pot and the steam is all coming and the pot is keeping all the steam in, it's taking that top off and letting the steam dissipate, right? So it's not changing the reality, it's not changing it's not fighting against, but it is transforming the circumstance it's not like saying steam is bad, there should be no steam. It's like, oh, steam, here's some more space. That's all. And that input of the steam should be related to as something that's pointing us in a direction so that we can decide what it is that we want, where it is that we want to put our attention. So we can decide where it is that we want to, fight for what's right. Like, it matters. But it shouldn't rule us, because when what's happening now is we're all a bunch of fucking dysregulated fucking nervous wrecks. Somebody looks at us wrong or cuts us off or has an opinion we don't like or what? Like, come on. We're making ourselves into tangled knots. Necessary, because we're powerful, magical, incredible beings, and there's a way to make this shit work, but we gotta figure out how to make this shit work, on an individual scale first. We're not exactly very powerful and magical when we're fucking set off by every fucking thing. We're on an up and down roller coaster. Oh, but it's all called for. It's all called for. Why? Because the world is absolutely upside down. It's going to give us nothing but reasons to be up and down all the time, unless we understand that there's a separation between us and the external world, and that we very much have responsibility. But the responsibility isn't in our reaction. We've got no shortage of reactions. We don't fucking need it. What we need is responses. What we need is powerful, magical beings who know how to access their agency and don't let the circumstances of the world siphon their fucking energy. That's what we need. And there's no permission needed. There's nothing we have to do first to practice this. But we do need a humility to understand that it's got to be practiced. We do need a humility to understand that it's not from 0 to 100. We do need the humility to understand that we're going to fall short again and 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 again, and that we can't let that be proof that we suck, but instead be proof that that's how it changes, is through us relating to that as not something fixed about, like static about our identity, but something that is just like, wow, that's been a repeated pattern in me, and it's got a hold on me, and I have to keep showing up, practicing despite what it is that I'm seeing, despite the resistance in myself that I'm seeing, despite the falling short in myself that I'm seeing. I've got to keep showing up, and I've got to keep trying again and again and again and again, because that's how the new pattern will be built. And through repetition, that pattern will lower resistance to repeating that pattern, and then we will have the ability to respond without trying so hard. And that's not going to happen overnight. It's certainly not. And so